Well, thank you both so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you
So,
for, yeah, the interest in making the time.
of course. This is quite the story. I fell into like the Korean music and K-pop rabbit hole because of K-pop Demon Hunters, like most people have. And The Rose is one of the groups that like my husband will listen to with me. Like he really enjoys it because it's more rock, you know? He's like,
Yeah.
okay, this one I can get behind. I'm like, okay, great. So when I heard about this, I was super intrigued because I'm always super interested in the behind the scenes of how groups got together, what struggles they went through. I always enjoy that. So for you guys, like, what was it about the Rose that really drew you to this project and felt like their story needed to be told?
Yeah, for me, so Janet Yang, one of our EPs, she is the one that heard about this band. She knew the managers and they said we just signed up in this new band called The Rose. Uh you gotta listen to them. And they had all been part of the K-pop, this usual system, the
Yeah.
traditional system, but they all dropped out, realizing the system just wasn't working for them. They appreciate the system and respect it, but it didn't work for the four of them. And so they decided to try to pursue music their way. They wanted to write their own music. They didn't want to dance. They wanted
Yeah,
to
right.
do it the way they do it. So they found each other separately. Uh, two had met through the K-pop system, but
Yeah.
the rest just meeting and other situations. But anyway, when Janet told me about this idea of a band that was part of the system but decided to pursue it in the way they wanted to, even though they knew it would be much harder and it would be very challenging, it felt true to them and they had to do it. So I always love those kind of stories where
Yeah.
it's like, um, I know it sounds cheesy, but pursue your passion and the dream the way you want to do it, not how it's expected of you.
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing that really attracted me. And then so much more, but I'll let Eugene
Yeah.
So Diane reached out to me about collaborating on this project together, and it immediately just piqued my interest because I've always just been a fan of Korean rock music. Like, no, I may not be as anti-K-pop as your husband sounds like he is,
He's just like, you're just
but
staring at these Korean men. What are you doing? I'm like,
yeah,
they're good too. I like their music.
they're very attractive Korean men. I mean, I get it. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles, so um, it was ambient. It was all around like K-pop was. But every time I would hear like Korean rock music, it always, struck a chord, like literally, metaphorically, whatever, because I like that kind of music. But also just raised all these questions of just like, well, why aren't there like American bands with faces that look like mine? Or if we're playing that game, it's like, oh, look, there's like James Ehan, the Smashing Pumpkins. That's great. But like, like why aren't there more opportunities for bands like that here? And then why don't we actually hear more Korean rock being marketed to us in the same way? And so it raised all these questions. It was like, oh, well, is it like inside the system, outside the system? um, all these questions that I had naturally. And so after talking to Diane and learning a little bit more about the Rose, their journey involved pretty much every single curveball that a Korean group can get thrown at them.
Yes.
Um, and and any one of those curveballs would have been enough to sort of end um, another band's career. But the fact that they went through all that, the fact that they overcame all that, and then the fact that they're willing to talk about all of that,
Yeah.
yeah, it just made it for the kind of project, particularly about, I mean, any musician or artist is gonna probably be, holding their cards close to the vest, but like, particularly with Korean musicians, I think there's an image that they're trying to project. And the fact that they were willing to sort of really be honest about us was just made this feel like the kind of movie that I always wanted to see. And so there's always that thing, right? It's like,
Yeah.
make the movies you want to see in the world. So
Yeah.
that was,
No,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I was like crying watching it, watching them all get emotional, like talking about stuff. I was like, I'm so invested in them now. Like, I loved their
Oh,
music, but I didn't know their story, And I'm like, I'm so much more invested in them. I was texting my friend. I'm like, oh my God, you have to watch this documentary when it comes out. Because we were talking about the Rose before. We unfortunately had a work commitment and couldn't see them when they were in LA recently. And we were like, no, I wanted to see them. So I was like, you have to see this documentary. You're going to love them even more. But what was the collaborative process like with them?
It started with they've been wonderful partners. Any time we said, we'd love to film with you, mostly was when they were in the United States because they were in Korea a lot. They were always willing to do it. Eugene always shares this story of how, like, the only time we could do the master interview with Jeff, for instance, he was flying from Korea and landing at 8 at night, and he's willing to do the interview starting at 9. Just really willing to do what we needed to do, and I could tell that at the very beginning, like even before we agreed to do the doc, I had wanted to do a Zoom with each of the individual band members just to get a feel for them and to see, like, will they really, as Eugene say, share what they've gone through and be willing to be vulnerable. People may say that, and then once you get to interviewing, there's like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. But when I at the Zoom, each of them were so willing. They were sharing stories that were so personal and so meaningful, and I could tell that these guys, if we get them on camera, they would be willing to share their story. And then so throughout the shoot too, Eugene and I think we really tried to keep it to a small group of people so that they learned to trust us and felt more comfortable sharing with us. And that included So Yun and Richard Hama. It was basically those two and Eugene and I on all the shoots.
Oh, wow.
And in terms of, even when we had a cut, we did. There were a couple times when we showed them the cut. I think that was important to us that they saw the film before it gets out into the world, and especially because they talk about such personal things.
Yeah.
In the end, we don't want to harm them anyway, or we want to make sure they're 100% comfortable. And so that was a really great process where we talked to each other and we're really honest with each other.
Yeah. Eugene, how about for you? What was that collaborative process like?
No, I mean, I think Diane covered most of it. I think one of the other things I think that was really important to all of us was to make sure, at least for sort of the main interviews, where we're really kind of going through the paces and asking them about their whole careers, that we do the interviews in whatever language they're most comfortable in. Because I think especially for bands like them, and you see it with other groups too, like BTS or Blackpink or whatever, like, the members who are more comfortable in English will end up getting more press attention and just more attention in general. And again, particularly because the Rose has such a big international fan base that ends up prioritizing, two of the members over the others. And, those two members are wonderful, of course. But I think it felt really important to make sure that Jeff and Dylan got a chance to tell their story on their own terms as well, without having to sort of think about words and parsing language. And particularly for, well, Dylan, because I think, he kind of has that like quieter drummery thing maybe,
Yeah.
but whenever he does talk, he's just like hilarious. And you see that like in the Korean appearances they make. So that's just this injection of personality, but also with Jeff too, because I think, and we can talk about this more, of course, like from sort of early on, I think, yeah, we all sort of got the sense that like there's just so much emotionality in Jeff's story, so much emotion that like his story was really going to play an important role in the ride that the film would take a viewer on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would say to Eugene's point, that became really clear to me early on too, that it would be good to have a director like Eugene who can speak both Korean and English, so that I don't speak Korean, and I wanted to be sure that, like Eugene said, that they didn't have to think about how do I respond to me because they're trying to think of it in English. They speak English really well, but still it means thinking
Yeah.
first and trying to find
Yeah.
that word. Like I have trouble finding words, but
Yeah, right.
myself, um, and so that I think that was really meaningful to them to have Eugene on board.
Yeah, no, I love that it was that way and not like they're forced into speaking English. I thought that was
Yeah.
done really well. I do want to talk about how do you choose like which performances because they have so many great performance videos. Again, since I went down the rabbit hole of this, I had watched so many different, videos on YouTube and concert stuff. How do you choose which performances you want to highlight? Because there must have been, I mean, there's so many to choose from, but you guys chose great ones, but like there's a lot.
I'll let Eugene answer since I answered first. I'll ask you a question.
Which one? Oh no. If you have an answer, please feel free. The which ones do you wish were
Just
I almost want to ask which ones you
just
wish
in
were
general,
there.
like it's not that there's any I wish were there. It was
Yeah.
just like I know there's a lot that you have to pick and choose, like a song from this performance and one different song
Yeah.
from this time, and you know what I mean? Like,
No, it's funny that you mentioned that because there was a version of the cut where one of the songs was like a montage of a lot of different performances.
oh, okay,
But in the end, after working through the cut and like working with our consulting editors, particularly Jean Chen, like one of our our consulting editor, she you know decided to for the opening, for example, to stay in Coachella. And I think what that kind of demonstrates is we wanted each performance to feel like you're actually watching the band, basically,
yeah,
and not like something that's constructed. I think, Diane obviously comes from a very strong like verite filmmaking. Like a lot of like her amazing films like have that as like their aesthetic, and to sort of apply that to performance was something I think that yeah, is sort of the way it ended up feeling. It really felt like you were there. We really wanted to make it feel like you were watching a show.
yeah. No, I like that, and
Mhm.
I like that you have the quieter moments too.
Mm.
Like when they were
Yeah,
just on stage talking with everyone, like who was here 7 years ago or whatever. Like
Oh,
I like that stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But it gives
yeah,
you like that side of them, because one of my favorite parts about going to concerts is always I love live music, but I love when they take a moment to connect with the audience, and
Yeah.
so I was very glad that you guys included a bit of that as well.
yeah, yeah. I wish you would have been at the Tribeca premiere. It was so wonderful because they got to perform afterwards, but
Yeah.
it was very much a conversation with the audience too. And you getting to see the real them. Um,
Yeah. And they're so good at that too. Like sort of, even if they like make a mistake, they're just so charming and they're so like like charismatic that like yeah, it's just sort of part of the show and part of the presentation.
Yeah,
yeah, and I would say like a lot of the concert footage that we end up showing were the concerts that we had been that were going on when we were following them because there's a lot of older
yeah,
concerts which with great footage, especially like from YouTube and things. But
Mhm.
we probably focus most on the forum or the concert in Korea, like you were talking about, and Coachella because it was during the time we were following them,
Yeah.
and then we chose concerts that reflected what we were talking about in terms of the story. So when
yeah,
Jeff was talking about his depression, that seesaw performance, the one that I cry
yeah.
every time I see it, it
Hmm.
when we were going through all the archival, that really spoke to how much the band and Jeff came together to support him during that time. And that
Yeah.
Yeah.
season performance seemed just like the right performance to show.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so good. It's so emotional. I'm like, I cried too. I'm like, I cried so much during this documentary. I was like, I was not expecting this. I was like, I mean, I didn't, again, I knew they had like left the company, but like, I didn't know the ins and outs of it all. So it was
Right,
very
like the
interesting.
lawsuits and the things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
They could have lost the use of the Rose name,
I
it's really
know.
scary to
Yeah.
them.
So,
Yeah.
which is so sad. So like, it's great to see that someone has the guts to do that. Cause I feel like that's pretty gutsy to be like,
Yeah.
no, this ain't for me and just leave, like that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And even and you see
Inspiring.
other K-pop groups, I'm sure like you've read about them like, yeah, where that is the end of their career. That's the end. You know,
New
that's it.
Jeans right now is not.
I didn't want to say New
Yeah,
Jeans, but New Jeans
I
is an
know.
example that comes to
Right,
mind.
because it's happening right now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's sad. Like
It
that's not
really
how.
is.
Oh, so just to see the ins and outs of it, but like see it's inspiring. You know what I mean? That they're like, you know
Mm,
what, we're gonna leave, and then that they get to still be together and have their name, because that's even
Yeah,
huge. Losing your
yeah.
name would be, you got to start over
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And to trust and to still have that trust in the music that they make together too,
Yeah.
because I mean it's the oldest story in the book with bands, right? It's just like the tensions that are in there between members, and then if management is like actively doing things to make things worse in terms of
Yeah.
those relationships, I mean a lot of bands don't recover, a lot of collaborations don't recover. So the fact that they were able to believe in each other, believe in the music that they were doing together, and want to keep that going just speaks to like the chemistry that they have together.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Like I was watching it, I was like, they were pitting them against each other, like saying they were, that's
I know.
It's
horrible.
yeah.
Why would you do that? Don't you want your
Yeah,
band to get along with each other? I don't know.
Especially like that early on. It's
Right.
yeah,
This is the formative years. This is not the time to be doing this. Like
for
it's
sure.
it's crazy. That's what makes it such a intriguing story. This isn't like a happy, it has a happy ending, but it's not like a documentary of like, here's all the happy stuff. Yay, they hit this number one, blah blah blah, the end.
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's what makes their story more interesting is to know all that they go through
Yeah.
versus, yeah, just the happy endings, which
Mhm.
a lot of uh, docs sometimes just focus on, and that wasn't what we wanted to do. And that's not what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They wanted
No.
to hopefully inspire others too, and talk about why healing is so important to them in their music because they
Yeah.
went through all this. They had to heal
Right.
too.
Exactly. Right. This is actually their story. What was
Right.
their like, I know you talked a little bit about the collaborative process, but when you were showing them cuts, like what was their reaction, especially to the final one? Like how I feel like I just watching them on here, I feel like they might have got emotional. That's why I'm asking.
I I don't know if they got emotional, right, Diane? Like I feel like the emotional part for them came through in sort of seeing the reaction of audiences and fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember one because I mean on some level it's like I remember a conversation we had with James Rowe, who is the extravagantly mustachioed gentleman
Great
who
mustache.
Far
Great
East
mustache.
movement.
yeah.
He's part of Far East movement, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
uh yeah.
Yeah, first Asian American group to hit number one on Billboard with Fly Like a G6 and yeah, and is now sort of like their one part of their management team. But I remember him talking about how like I see these guys every day. They're like boring, right? Like, is there really a film there? And so I think that kind of, if it's your life, you're not necessarily sure whether there's enough uh drama to
Interest.
sustain the
Yeah.
film or interest. But after Tribeca, I remember talking to Jeff specifically, like after the screening there, and like his main reaction was just like, wow, people really like my dad. And like it's a similar thing. It's like it's your dad, you don't really think that much about it, but to sort of like see the response that people had, I think, was something that felt very meaningful to them, and from what we hear was very sustaining to them too, and very it moved them to sort of want to do more, like with their music and with their with all the activities that they engage in.
Yeah, no, this was so fun. I really enjoyed when when his mom showed the naked picture, but she's like, I'm not gonna show it to the camera, but I am gonna show it to you. I was like, that is hilarious.
Sammy's mom is just so funny. Like
Oh,
we had so many great things that was shot, and you just see where Sammy gets a lot of his spirit and humor,
Hmm.
which
yeah.
is really great. Yeah.
No, I was so glad you kept that part in. I like her. She's just like, I won't show it to the camera. Don't worry. I'm definitely showing this person standing right here. They're gonna see it. It was so funny. No, I really, really enjoyed the documentary. So congratulations, guys. I loved
Oh,
getting
thank
to
you.
know more,
Yeah.
Like I said,
Thank
they're a
you.
group I already loved. So it's so interesting to like go behind the scenes and learn more about the formative years and all that. So
How did you find the rose originally? So you
so this is so K-pop Demon Hunters sent me down a rabbit hole, like ATs, Stray Kids, all that, right? And then my husband was making fun of me for, whatever. He's like, "You're Korean boys." I'm like, "Whatever. I'm sure there's music you will like too." And my friend was like, "Oh, you should show him the Rose because they're like rock indie." And he was like, "Okay, let's watch that." And then we were listening to the Rose, and that's kind of how I found them. And I was like, they're really good. Like, I'm into them too. And so that's really how it started.
Oh, and it's pretty. So it's pretty recent.
It was like a year ago. Since I saw K-pop Demon Hunters like beginning of last year.
Ago. Oh my god!
Well, I saw it early. I saw it a couple months early because they wanted like my opinion.
Yeah.
So as soon as I watched it, I was like, "Oh my god, I think I'm in love with K-pop," and I don't know what happened to me. And I have a couple friends who had already been into K-pop, so they're like, "Here's the people to listen to." And one of them, yeah, she actually met the Rose at like I don't know, there was like a Disney thing they were at, but like they were just there attending, I think, and she met them like some holiday night or holiday thing. She has a picture with them, and she was like, "No, you have to listen to them. You'll love them too." I was like, "Okay." But she's a journalist, and I think she might actually at some point interview you guys. So I know she wrote.
That's great. That would be great. Yeah, we're we open in the theaters weekend of February 14th.
Valentine's Day weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're just hoping people also come out, and to enjoy it like a documentary, that it's not just a concert doc. It's, where you just you really, like you're saying, seeing the story behind the Rose. So so any sharing is appreciated.
Yes, of course. No, I mean, it's so, again, this journey for me has been so like great because it's also like a super welcome community. I'm realizing like there's so many fans, and it just becomes like a community, like I have my photo cards on my bag, and the people are like, "Oh, who's your bias and who's your this?" And then we were talking about the new Rose light stick the other day, because they have the new light stick design that's coming out or whatever, and I was like, "This is so cool." Like, so anyway.
Yeah, I during the doc making the doc too, a couple of times I stood in line like just to hear and see what the fans are thinking, and everyone was so kind. You're so right. Like everyone was giving gifts to each other, which is
I know. Which I'm like, we can use more of this in the world right now. Like, let's go places and all, you don't even know people, and you start like you become fast friends just talking about your favorite songs or group members or performances. And you're right, you literally, they have freebies at every single concert I've been to. People make gifts for other people, and I'm like, that is
we can use more of that.
Definitely.
And they've brought that energy to the screenings too. It's been really, I mean, it's been really something to see, kind of like the Black Rose community. Just, I don't know, you're always afraid with fandoms, I think, a little bit too, that like we might not do right by them, but like the fact that they've been so supportive and they've been showing up to so many screenings. I mean, some folks have showed up to multiple screenings to watch the film over and over again, and just the warmth that I think we've all been received whenever we see them is been something really like to behold, like, and definitely more of that energy in the world, like you all have been saying.
I know, it's like, please, I could use a lot of love right now. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time, and like I said, congratulations on everything. So I will be singing its praises everywhere.
Oh, thank you so much.
We really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.